Shut up. Don't get in my way by to be sick. You're a useless housewife.
I was feeling very sick, but my husband ran out of the house, shoving me aside. I supposed a husband and wife were each other in sickness and in help. He left me behind. The word despair whirled around in my mind as I slowly lost consciousness. Then someone unexpectedly came to. I'm Wendy, 32 years old. I married my husband, Sam, about a year ago. I was leading a normal life as a working wife. We met at work, and he agreed with me to continue working after marriage. We shared the chores at home, but he was very good at them. I gave him only simple things to do, and he showed no reluctance and was proactive, so I had no complaints about marriage. At one point, I was feeling miserable and went to see a doctor.
Congratulations! You have just entered your 7th week.
To my surprise, I found out that I was pregnant. That day, Sam and I shared our joy.
I'm going to be a dad. It doesn't reel.
That's how it is in the beginning. It will grow little by little.
We were filled with excitement. I was full of hope for a happy future. But despite my expectation, reality took a different turn.
Hey, where's my dinner? It's your turn to cook today, and you didn't even clean the bathtub.
I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, so I couldn't do anything today.
I was in a state of intense morning sickness during the first trimester of my pregnancy, barely able to breathe. I felt nauseated all day and could stand. I spend most of my days at home sleeping. I couldn't even go to work and had to take sick days off. Sam didn't even try to understand my suffering and didn't give me slack.
No work and no chores.
He thought I was just being lazy. He blatantly showed his dissatisfaction by becoming even more grumpy with me.
Don't rely on me just because you're pregnant. You want me to do all the housework? How can you be a mother if you're ready like that?
There were times when I thought he could treat me like that. At the same time, I understood that who couldn't support him properly. Came home from stressful work was but an annoyance to him. I thought about going back to my parents' house until my condition settled, but feared creating an irreparable rift between us. I hoped that my morning sickness was temporary and that it would stop in 2 months. Until then, I just needed to make it. That was what I told myself, but his disdainful behavior accelerated. The morning sickness subsided somewhat, but the illness persisted for a long time. I was in and out of the hospital repeatedly, and I decided to take a leave of absence from work for a while. If I pushed myself too hard and some happened to my baby, I couldn't for myself. I discussed it with my doctor and my work, and we made a decision. Sam wasn't so understanding, though.
Don't depend on me so much. It's your fault if you don't or can.
While that may have been true, my decision was made to protect the baby in my arms. Why did he need to blame me? I put up with his unreasonable attitude.
It's about the living expenses. I only get a small allowance during. Can you contribute a little more towards your salary?
I pleaded with him.
What the hell? Why do I have to pay your portion as well?
He wasn't helpful. I questioned myself if I should keep married to him. My anxiety grew bigger and bigger, one balloon. I thought everything was going to be fine when I got pregnant. How did it go wrong? The final straw was when my mother-in-law criticized me for not being a good enough cook.
How are you doing, Wendy?
One day, I received a call from her. She had divorced her husband when C was in middle school and raised him single-handedly. She was very sharp but gentle and tactful.
You should move around a little while you're pregnant. It must be hard for my son to do the housework while working. You need to take charge of that.
I felt despair being told by her. She was not a bad person for sure. She had given birth herself, and I understand her point of view. At that time, I felt like she was trying too hard and doing all the household chores.
Especially if you're taking time on.
Yes, you're right.
I was planning to discuss Sam with felt completely isolated after that. She didn't seem to take into account my feelings.
Let me know when you need any help.
She hung up the phone after saying that I was still bothered by the situation. Then, a disaster fell upon me. I had been feverish and lethargic all morning. On top of that, nausea came and went intermittently. I managed to prepare Sam's breakfast in a weakened state and then lay on the sofa.
You don't need to show off that you're sick. 33.
He grumbled and looked at me with disdain. I lay in bed after he left for work condition. Didn't get any better. I was unlikely to be able to cook dinner for him. I contemplated ordering in, but then I remembered that our money was tight. The living expenses Sam gave me were enough, and I had to take out from savings every month. In addition, my medical expenses for the upcoming birth weren't cheap. At that rate, we would have broken our baby was born. I called Sam nervously.
I'm really sick today. I'm sorry, but I can't make dinner. Can you pick up something on the way?
What the hell are you talking about, a housewife? 33.
Yeah, but if I can't move what I'm to do.
I'm too busy. Go and get something for me. Don't make me do your job.
After he hung up on me, I quietly wept. Later that evening, I heard the front door closing violently. Sam had returned home.
Hey, honey, dinner is ready.
Doesn't matter. I'm going out for...
At that time, my whole body was burnt, and I could hardly stand up.
I'm feeling quite sick. I need you with me tonight.
I begged and pleaded. He quickly shoved me aside and yelled, "Get out of here!"
Shut up. Don't get in my way. You're just a useless housewife who is always sick.
He then walked out of the house. I had no strength to go back to bed and collapse in the doorway. Somebody help me! I screamed desperately in my mind. Was no one to answer me in the house alone. Then I heard someone's voice from... In my fading consciousness, a family spoke to me.
Stay with me.
Who is this? I lost consciousness there. When I awoke, I found Anne staring anxiously. I was lying on the bed in the hospital.
Wendy. Oh, thank God. You're awake.
She happened to come over and called ambulance when she found me collapsed doorway.
You're safe now. Your baby is fine. I'll get back to you soon.
Wiping her tears, she quickly left. According to the doctor, I was extremely anemic and had seasonal flu. If Anne hadn't found me, the baby would have been in danger. I was feeling feverish all day, but surprised to learn that it was 104 when I was taken to the hospital.
But why were you there?
Sam told me that you were being lazy, so he wanted me to come and discipline you.
She finally suspected something was wrong and found me unconscious.
I'm sorry. I didn't even listen to what I had to say, but gave you a lecture. 33.
There was another reason for her visit.
I also wanted to thank you for this.
That red cardigan looks great on you.
Her birthday was last week. I had always sent her gifts on her birthday and for Mother's Day since we were married.
I'm getting old.
I remembered she had mentioned it to send her a cardigan. The color was a little bright for a more youthful look, but the design was stunning. Thank you for remembering everything.
You've always been attentive and car others. I was concerned if you really did know home, as Sam said. And then this happened. I'm so sorry.
Her tears flowed as she held my hand.
No, it's okay. I was going to talk about him, but it just got a little personal.
I cried in front of her too. Knowing that she was on my side made lighter. After we cried together for a while to me with fury.
He is my son, but what he did is unforgivable.
How dare he treat the mother of his this horrible way? Her mouth trembled with anger, and she squeezed her handkerchief tightly.
So, what are you going to do about it?
I told her about my plan, and she no head in agreement.
On your side, I-11 always have back.
I made up my mind to act upon it, assured by her. After a week in the hospital, Anne accompanied me back home. I didn't hear from Sam once during there. That no longer mattered anyway. When we arrived home, there was a terrible smell in the air, even though it had been 7 days since the fire. I felt like my nose was going to fall off.
What's that smell? It smells like a wild beast lives here.
Anne almost made me laugh, but I held back. The smell was out of this world. Sam was lying on the sofa, drooling and snoring.
Wake up, you idiot.
He was instantly awakened from his Anne's scream. He jumped off the sofa with a sigh.
Oh my gosh, where have you been for days? What have you been up to?
He immediately complained to me, but him in place.
Wendy was in the hospital. What's with this mess? Zoo is bet this.
She was right. In just 1 week, the house had turned into a garbage dump. There was a collection of empty beer food scraps in the sink. Dampened towels and underwear were about, and the floor was sticky as liquid had been spilled all over it.
It's worse than a zoo.
I muttered to myself, and he glared.
Don't talk so high and mighty. You're the one who...
I doubt that even a baby would make mess. I had no idea you were incapable of care of yourself.
I calmly stated my mind. It was actually true. When I thought about it, I realized it a fair amount of cleaning and When I was at home, at least it wasn't messy, like a cage in a zoo. I had never imagined that he was with no life skills.
Why did you leave Wendy behind that?
He was completely overwhelmed by her pressure. Men, no matter how old they were, always seemed vulnerable to their mothers.
She just sulked like a little kid saying she didn't want to go out for drinks.
You're saying that she faked her illness even though she was so pale with the fever. Do you have a brain?
She was a relatively calm person, but this was the only time I heard her scold harshly. He remained silent, glaring at me. How dare you rat me out? I could almost hear his mind. Then he uttered in a low growling.
Don't get carried away. I've provided you with all this time.
If it had been me in the past, I would have shrunk from his anger. I was not such a timid woman anymore, you know?
Well, right then. You don't have to slam anymore. I'm ready for that now. What do you want to do next?
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't need you anymore. Who in the world would want to be May? A big baby who can't do anything on it.
I was fed up with him. If it was just his outbursts at me, might have endured. Wait, no, I wouldn't have. But I thought you could have worked it out through talk therapies. He went out, drinking while I was sick. He trashed the house, unable to live normal adult, while I was in the hose. He scored less than 0 as a husband and father.
By the way, you said it was a drink with your friends, but I wonder what you were really doing.
I gave him a death stare as I muttered. He flinched to my amusement.
Yes, it is her business.
She has the right to know since she is his wife. Now tell us the truth.
Sam was trembling at Anne's harshness.
Well,
He fumbled for words.
If you don't want to tell us, it's okay. You're already busted. I'll show you proof that you can never hide from. 3.
you cannot possibly be serious.
At that moment, his face turned pale.
Yes, you better come clean right. You're not very good at this, are you?
He hung his head down and gave in to insistent pursuit.
I'm sorry.
He raised the white flag. To recap, he had been having an affair with a coworker since I became pregnant. It was a very common story.
What's her name? Which department does she work in? How often were you seeing her?
We interrogated him with a smirk on our faces. I stopped the recording on my phone.
We have a confession to make. Thank you so much for coming out to our event.
When I cheerfully thanked him, his turned back to a grimace.
You tricked me.
He exclaimed.
Yeah, so what? I can't believe you cheating on me. You just saved me the trouble of hiring an investigator. Thank you.
You fooled me.
He was frustrated and blamed me for the affair. I couldn't understand his logic at,
You were trying to grab my attention by playing sick. We're not the same.
not at all. When I saw him stubbornly refusing his own fault, I began to feel more and sighed deeply and mumbled,
You're selfish, arrogant, and a liar like your father.
Fix. No.
He was shocked by the unexpected resignation. It was understandable. His parents divorced when he was in school, and he hated his father. According to what I had been told, he had a mean streak and often got drunk and became violent. He never thought he would be told that he liked the man he despised.
I don't drink and act out.
That wasn't the point she was trying.
I can't tell you how many times you left me sick when I was pregnant and drinking. I guess sons become like their fathers all.
If I had known that, I would have divorced him. You could even remember, she said in disgust and a little sad. He remained still, unable to move in shock.
I would rather not have a father who is a bad influence on the child. Don't you agree, Wendy?
Right. We don't need him, or rather, should be eliminated. 33.
After hearing the most convincing the divorce, he was at a loss for.
Why don't you reconsider? We're going to have a baby. Let's calm down, okay?
He still had the strength to beg and close to me in a coaxing voice, like child begging his mother.
What do you mean? We're at that stage.
What am I supposed to do then?
He covered his face with his hands, distraught. I could see his eyes peeping through his fingers, checking my reaction. He still seemed to anticipate a better outcome. Then, Anne delivered the final blow.
Enough. If you persist any longer, disown you. What do you say now, huh?
What the hell, Mum One? Why won you me?
He finally seemed to give up at that. Some say a woman's enemy is another woman, but a woman's friend is also another woman. She stood by me to the end. I filed for a divorce in my 7th month of pregnancy. I had never imagined that having a going to destroy our marriage. Maybe the child had given me a blessing in disguise. After that, I returned to my parents' house and gave birth to a healthy baby boy. I had not informed my parents of any trouble, so when I returned with them, they were taken aback. My father introduced me to a lawyer who helped me negotiate the divorce. I was able to get alimony that took account the amount of emotional and pain and suffering. I also met the adulteress and gave mouthful till I was satisfied. After the divorce was finalized, Samantha called him several times, asking to meet up.
I still haven't received my child support payment. Can you tell me why I haven't received my child support payment?
When I got sarcastic with him, he with an incoherent argument.
You don't need that. We are a family, and the best thing to be together.
He made no sense at all.
You scored below 0 as a husband? At least fulfill your duty as a father to your child. If you don't, you're good for nothing.
He left in desperation, as though he had been hit on the head with a sledgehammer. He must have had a loathsome image of father in his memory. Rumor had it that he had resigned from his job. He complained to his colleagues about his divorce, but it backfired. He seriously believed that he did no wrong. He told them exactly what he had said to me, which disgusted everyone. At the same time, rumors about his colleague were circulating. No one felt sorry for him. Rather, he was seen as a scumbag in the company. He became isolated, and it was too uncomfortable for him to continue working. He was a typical delusional man. I was afraid that he might have kept up an illusion of us getting back together. Of course, I had no intention of doing anything like that.
Wendy, I heard you are going back soon. Are you feeling better?
Yes, I'm much better now. I have to work for him. 33.
That's right. You're a strong mother.
I don't tell Sam about it, but I some take my son to see Anne.
I'm not your family now that you're divorced. Don't worry about visiting me.
She used to feel bad for me.
You saved not only mine, but his lit.
Now she holds her grandson happily arms.
As you are an experienced single mother, please give me guidance.
Of course. From now on, we are sisters in arms, or fellow detectives who have drivel villain to confession.
We have become more like best friend. Well, this kind of relationship is not for everyone. Sometimes I feel uneasy, though. You're just like your father. Her words stay with me. I wonder if one day my son will be like Sam. Will there come a day when I think of my father as a son? There's no point in worrying about the future. I would teach him right from wrong. I will tell him about the importance of eye and compassion. My son will be my son no matter what. Nothing more, nothing less. As a mother, I will risk my life to him. The sunlight softly shines through winter sky. I feel like it's cheering me on